This is the Leadership and Insurance Podcast, brought to you by FinPro Search Partners.
Insurance companies are businesses and they need to look for the long term and be sustainable.
We went from 0 to 1 and now it's going from 1 to 100.
Insurance as a concept, as a kind of service, is brilliant. The execution is what we're looking at now.
I think the companies that are going to succeed are the ones that are going to understand and master the art of intent.
When we talk about innovation, we lean too heavily to think about technology, and we don't think about creating a culture of innovation.
I think innovation is essentially continuous improvement of existing processes and platforms and product.
Right? It's got to be easy. It's got to be seamless.
Hello and welcome to the Leadership and Insurance Podcast. I'm your host, Alex Bond, and I'm very lucky today to be joined by another Alex, a bigger and better version. Alex, CEO of Sixfold AI. Alex, how are you, sir?
I am doing well, Alex, number one. Thank you for having me on. Exciting to be chatting today.
Likewise. I've been looking forward to this one. Obviously you're we don't see each other enough, actually, but we cross paths a lot. But we don't see each other enough. I saw you in New York, but obviously we know each other relatively well. But before we dive into the conversation, it'd be great if you could introduce yourself and obviously the Sixfold business for people that might not know.
Sure. So I'm founder and CEO of Sixfold. Sixfold focuses exclusively on insurance underwriting AI. So that means we build a series of AI agents and models that are used by large global insurers to help make their underwriting operations more effective, more scalable, more accurate. I'm an insurance nerd by background. I've been doing insurance and the tech side of insurance for the bulk of my career. I started out in what I'm now required to call the boring part of my career, though, because I used to do fashion, luxury e-commerce, a little bit of jewelry. We built some swimsuit websites back in the day, but I found insurance a little bit over 18 years ago, and I never looked back. And I love our ability to impart change on the industry.
Brilliant. Yeah. Isn't it funny? Who'd have thought this is the sexy, exciting stuff? I was embarrassed to be out the other night, and someone was asking about what I do, and I got so enthusiastic about it. And they were like, "Yeah, you can give us a shortened version of it." And I was like, "Oh God, I'm that guy." But I think that's the thing. We're living in a real period of change. I think it's a really interesting conversation to have with you today. And I wanted to talk about that. Sixfold's 3 years in. You recently announced a pretty big fundraise. Just want to touch on that quickly. How did you find the fundraising environment? Do you think you would have found it harder if you didn't have AI in your name?
We've had a pretty consistent approach to fundraising since we started. We want to connect with awesome partners in the market that can work with us, provide capital, and help accelerate our growth. And we were really fortunate this time to team up with the Brewer Lane guys. They are, stewards of InsurTech. They know our space. From them, we get not only obviously, excellent cash in the bank to help us scale this business, but just connectivity and strategy. And coming off the Salesforce, who led our Series A, and Bessemer, who led our Series Seed, we've just pulled together a great group of investors that understand insurance and financial services. I think it's been so critical on our journey to have people are in the boardroom that are able to really bounce ideas off us and understand the impact of what we're doing on the industry right now. So it's really been fabulous.
Yeah. I mean, I tell you what's quite telling about your investors is they're very loud about being your investors, and they're very much champions of yours. And I know some of them quite personally, and that's what you want more than anything, isn't it? Like it's that. I think when I first ignorantly entered into this like VC backed space, I thought it was just all about the money. But almost like the money's like a consequence of like, yes, we're going to go and raise money. The money's going to get there, but that right investor is a fighter, a cheerleader, a teammate. It seems to be.
Yeah, I'll tell you, we were, when we were considering who to go with, and look, we've been fortunate. There's great traction in the business, and there was a fair bit of interest out there. Not only because we have AI in our name, but we're having serious impact with our customers. I had some of those soul searching conversations with other founders asking them how did they navigate the choice of their Series B lead. And it's all about who's going to help you to scale into your vision at the next stage of growth. So that was probably the biggest contributing factor in us figuring out who we were going to go with.
Yeah, yeah. Well, it's great news because it's a tricky environment for a lot of people as well. So it was good to see positivity in the market. But let's get on to some more topics that I know that you're excited about. And we were just touched on this just before we hit record. Was that you know so much is happening at such a rate around AI, but also in just insurance generally and digitization. What's changed has much changed in the mission? Has there been maybe not a pivot, but have you had to sort of change direction or anything? Because that 3 years is an eternity in this space. And I wondered how the Sixfold kind of mission strategy journey has changed over that course of time.
Yeah, and it's an absolute eternity. And I'll tell you what's changed. The vision to create the world's most capable AI underwriter has been constant, has been consistent. But we talk about it quite differently. When we first started, there was no one using generative AI in underwriting. We were the first guys crazy enough to say we could use LLMs and we could help underwriters be more effective, be more efficient, be more accurate. We're going to integrate into their daily life. We're going to give them all the information they need. But the way we described ourselves was quite timid. We were a helpful assistant sitting alongside the underwriter, going to help them get to a more confident decision more quickly. And that's awesome. And we do that, and we still do that. We've got tons of active customers that use us for that capacity. But along the way, what the industry really signaled they wanted from us was, guys, what you're actually doing is building an end-to-end underwriter. We love the fact that you help our underwriters. We love the fact that you're an assistant. But what we want most from you is uh, turn our senior underwriters into absolutely superpowered senior underwriters and give them this end-to-end underwriting agent that they can use to 20x, 50x their productivity. And that's the exciting part of where we are right now. We are on the edge of having an end-to-end underwriting agent. You give it a broker submission, and it comes back to you with a quote that is pretty much as polished as one of your senior underwriters is going to be able to produce. And what's missing from it is all of that beautiful back and forth with the broker and the relationship building. And that's what the underwriting teams that are using our technology say is the best part. We're freeing so much, not just the work, we're freeing so much of their mind so they can focus on those one-to-one interactions, winning more business and cornering markets in more effective ways than they were before. So what's changed is not just the capabilities of what an end-to-end underwriting agent is able to do right now, but the fact that we're kind of telling the market right now, it's not just this little robot assistant on the side. If you want to completely change the way that you are able to underwrite, use our underwriting agents and we'll help you do it end to end.
Mm. It's really interesting how I think about this a lot from a sort of just happiness perspective, which seems trite, but I don't think it is. In that, what I'm excited about when I talk to you about this technology is it's giving people back the things that they enjoy from their work, and therefore they become better at people enjoy their work, they're better at their work. I mean, it's a very simple equation.
Yeah.
But the story is kind of like there's something quite almost like weird. I don't know, put hyperbole on it, but there is something quite life affirming about that. And the story I'm getting is that the market is now realizing that it's like, oh, actually, you can get us back to doing the things that we like. And is it as much that the customer base has shifted in their perception? Then is that what you think has shifted?
I think you need to live through the experience of
Mm.
of actually feeling what it's like to work with something as expert as the AI that we bring to bear. And there's people doing this in other areas. There's guys doing
Yeah,
this
yeah,
in claims. There's guys doing this in other parts of financial services. We just happen to focus on this one, the most important part of insurance underwriting.
yeah.
A story that recently came up. This really surprised me. A customer was sharing results of after being pretty deeply embedded, let's say for a few months with
Mm.
Sixfold, and they shared that the turnaround time to get a quote out the door was cut in half. Complex specialty business used to take 3 days. Now they get quotes out in a day and a half, maybe a day. Sounds like a long time, but it's still a dramatic reduction. And then they shared that the bind rate in their business was up 18%. So now they're getting quotes out faster. Bind rate goes up 18%. And then they shared that the premium, the bound premium, was up only 12% over this period. Okay, that's still pretty good growth. And then I'm looking at it and I was upset. It's like, well, hold on a second. We're turning around more quotes. We're getting more of them bound. Why are we only binding 12% more? And we asked the question back to the few underwriters that were experiencing this, and they said, because I'm spending more time with the brokers and with my customers. I'm building better relationships, and not for nothing, I'm finding us better risks. So I'm binding better risks. I'm pulling together better policies. The brokers are stickier to me. And it's the whole promise of what we're saying. What are you using the time for? I'm building better relationships and I'm doing the human things and I'm letting the robot go off and doing the things that, frankly, today it's probably better at.
Mm. Because it'll be interesting long term, won't it? I mean, that's the real excitement, is because that's the heart of the story, right? Giving people their time back, they can go and find better risks. So over time, that not only will binding go up, premium go up, that loss ratio level will improve, like
And I'll tell you,
dramatically.
you're exactly right, Alex. And I'll tell you something. When we first started the business, it was a much harder market, and
Mm,
everything was growth, growth, growth. Not at all, not at all at any expense. But
mm,
most of the businesses that we were in, we're seeing dramatic growth, and now we're seeing a soft market in many different areas. And maybe this year you're not going to grow your casualty business. You still have to lower expense ratio. You still have to
mm,
figure out what you're going to do when you have a lot of underwriters retiring and how you're handling backfills or not. And ultimately, you got to find the best risks. And so, what we're finding is this model works in hard markets when you need scalability, you need growth, pricing is great, and it works in soft markets when you need to beat your competition, you need to be faster, and you need to be more kind of elegant and nimble in the way you get back to brokers.
yeah, yeah, and it's the classic irony of a difficult market. You have to work harder just to stay still, which is
Yeah,
always the case, and and
yeah,
and, and
that's
having
right.
tools that can help you. You touched on something earlier as well that we were talking about, like I hope you don't mind me sharing, but before we hit record, you were like, I don't know how people are keeping up because you're doing applying AI to this one specific area, but then the breadth of what some other businesses are doing. Does that give you some skepticism about some of these things? I don't know. I honestly just
You
shooting from
know,
the hip.
I'll tell you, I try I wake up not being skeptical of what anyone else is chasing. I'll tell you our experience.
Sure.
It takes everything we have. It takes everything I have personally just to keep up. We've got
Yeah.
50 people, mostly in the US, also in London, a couple of others spread around the world. All we do is we wake up and we are a applied AI lab in underwriting. We build this suite of agents that do underwriting, and it takes everything we have to keep up with the model advances, with the research we have to do, with
Mhm.
actually deriving automatically, autonomously, all of the insights from the incredible data that we collect ourselves.
Mhm.
And we look at each other at the end of every week, whenever that actually is, starting and finishing, and you're out of breath. And
Mhm.
it is the most dynamic period, certainly of my tech career. And I think most of my colleagues and friends in the industry are saying the same thing. Uh, yeah, I can't imagine a company of our scale also doing claims and other processes. Oh, yeah, we can do that. We can do that. We get high marks from our customers who say, we love that you do one thing. Again, they still roll their eyes. They're like, that one thing
Yeah.
is responsible for $7 trillion of premium,
Yeah.
7% of the global economy. But I think, to your question, you can't be all things to all people in this AI world. But if you specialize, if you find your data advantage, which we have, if you find your training advantage, which we have, then you could develop the really killer product and bring it to your customers.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm a big believer in that. It's a conversation I was having yesterday with a friend of mine that works in He builds business development workflows. He's a consultant for that, so he works with technology and builds sort of end to end. And he's a with Pipe Drive actually, but so it's not a plug for Pipe Drive. We're not sponsored. It's just what happens to be what he does. And we were talking about like different use cases because he's industry agnostic. But it was that thing of like the power of doing one thing. And because we were having this argument about core systems versus kind of like plug and play discrete elements. And, obviously we're talking about underwriting. I mean, like you say, it's still the largest lion's share of everything that they need to worry about. But the kind of that's how AI adoption actually works in a practical way, is that can we actually get something that we can work that works within our flow of how we do business now. And I was wondering,
Yeah.
is that a friction point that you've seen prevent adoption? Is like trying to get someone to go, oh no, but just get everything on this system working this way. How much do you think about trying to work within the existing kind of way that underwriters work now?
Yeah, I think adjacent to what you're talking about is what we do hear from a lot of our customers. They are all in pilot hell right now. Our customers
Yeah.
and our prospects, absolute mayhem pilot hell. And that's driven by a lot of things. It's driven by the fact that there's a number of really awesome technology companies out there running to solve this problem.
Mhm.
It's driven by the fact that our customers are insurance carriers, right? Insurance carriers have very talented internal teams, AI teams, both applied and on the research side that are running at similar problems. So you got your internal teams, you got your external teams. It's a sea of people saying that they do everything or that they all do the same things, and everyone is locked in pilot hell. I think the best the best run insurers that we've seen that are emerging from this pilot hell lean on some of the principles you just said.
Mhm.
I'm not going to have 80 different little bespoke things. What I'm going to do as an insurer is have an AI or technical strategy that we, the insurer, we own the core. Like we've got to be able to plug and play and really lean into various vendors for their expertise. But it can't be 80 little ones doing all these different little things. I've got to find best in class capabilities, plug them in, but then figure out a way they can scale. And that's the
Yeah.
difference. And I think that's where, look, I'll tell you, that's where we've been winning. Like when we win with the global carriers who say, I don't want an AI solution in North America and in Europe and in South America and in Australia and a different one here, a different one there. I've got to find something. Once I agree, Alex, you guys got the best thing. You're ahead of the market in underwriting. You got to show me how this is actually going to work across all my business lines, in all of my regions, across all my languages. And
Mhm.
I think that's the advice that I'd also give to other people chasing these kinds of transformational, um, these massive changes in the industry. It's going to be hard to be that tiny point solution. You've
Mhm.
got to show how you can reach that global scale, particularly if you're going after, customers of this kind of size.
Mhm. Yeah, exactly. And you've got to solve a big enough problem for them as well. I was just, as you were talking, I was thinking about connectivity. And because there's so many solutions coming into the market for different points, has that changed anything in how you have to think about your potential connectivity to other parts of the value chain? So let's say a claim system or, obviously they can run independent, but I wonder if that's evolved because people are trying so many kind of different parts from a partnerships perspective, from a Sixfold perspective.
The way it's been surfacing from us, maybe this is counterintuitive. People see our tech, and one of the first things that comes to mind is, oh, I really don't have to jump into that end-to-end workflow system or workbench project, and maybe I could actually get a couple more years out of my core.
Mm.
And my claim system is kind of doing just fine.
Yeah,
If I replace it, I gain nothing new, other
yeah,
than maybe I lower some operational costs. So they see that when you take agents that are able to solve problems in the white space, where
mhm,
people are thinking and where people are doing work, it's actually breathing life, Alex, into some of their legacy systems. I'm not here saying leave your legacy there forever, don't modernize, don't update. You've got to always be modernizing, but you don't have to rip out and replace or put in place another painful workbench project just to use AI. And I think that's what's been, or just to get the benefits of AI, rather. And that's what's been refreshing for most people. And now to directly answer the question, how does it work? Well, AI agents are really good at just talking to everything. It can
Yeah,
talk to a table, it can talk to an old system, it could talk to an
yeah, yeah, yeah,
API, it could talk to an MCP. Because if you're building with bleeding edge stuff like we have, you could essentially automate the connection points between almost anything.
yeah, yeah. It's great. Someone really changed my mind on this podcast. I'm so grateful to them, I can't remember who it is though, which is sad. But just saying that what changed for me is when someone said you've got to stop thinking about it as software. You've got to start thinking about it as this is a person that works in your business. They're a digital member of staff, and they don't sleep, and they're really good at this thing. And as soon as I started to, there's an amusement to me that they're all talking to each other, and but that's where we are. That's the landscape we're living in. How much does the customer's expectation rise over time as well? That's what I'm intrigued by, because what I was thinking about is that now if I can't get something delivered tomorrow, because Amazon exists in the world, I'm
Yeah.
just going, what do you mean it gets delivered next week? My expectation bar has shifted. Do you think that's a threat to the ability to keep up for any business, not just Sixfold, but that bar just keeps raising all the time?
Yeah, it's I don't know if it's a threat, but it's certainly a
Mm.
daunting expectation.
Yeah,
It's a threat to those businesses that aren't moving quickly. So yes,
yeah,
but
yeah, yeah. Sure.
um, you need to deliver more results. Our most demanding customers are not our newest customers. They are our customers that have already
Really.
seen results.
Yeah, yeah.
Where we've got some wild new um, capabilities that are totally in alpha. We're doing some really forward-thinking things on automation, on just autonomous underwriting, doing better at different parts of the value chain, certain things in property and casualty.
Mm,
And our existing customers are the ones like, I need that tomorrow. I want to play with that and get it in the hands of my underwriters tomorrow, because if you gave it to them, they would use it. And
mm,
we've got customers, these are insurance companies that are traditionally, uh, rightfully conservative. They want to make sure everything is obviously as locked down as it can be. And they're being like, can you get me access to some of that early alpha stuff? But that's the
mm.
proxy for what you're saying. We need to be moving quickly through this period of transformation. The other reason you have to move quickly is not everything sticks. We build
Yeah.
plenty of stuff that maybe it works. It works on the surface, but it doesn't stick. Doesn't help the underwriter. Doesn't
Mm,
increase their velocity. Doesn't increase GWP per underwriter.
mm,
And then we throw it out and we move on. And so,
mm.
but the velocity is terrifying, Alex. It
Yeah,
takes all
yeah,
we
yeah.
can just to keep up. That's right.
Yeah, I mean, very different businesses, but I was smiling there because I have this quote of saying, I might have found you a unicorn, but I don't have a unicorn farm. It's a thing I say to my clients all the time. And
Yeah,
you have that thing where I've got consistent
it's
clients
great.
I've worked with for 5 to 10 years, and they're like, "Why are these people not as good as the people you bought me before?" And I was like, it doesn't work
Yeah,
that way.
yeah.
I'm giving you the best we can get right now. It's very funny. And so lastly, I'm conscious of the time, but I wanted to talk about talent actually. One of the challenges in this landscape is that there are so many interesting things being done. How do you how do you get them on your mission? How do you get that AI engineering talent and get them invested in what we're doing? Because it's everyone wants this talent right now. So I'm just
Yeah.
wondering, kind of, how do you sell it to them?
I think people need to believe in this world that you as a technology company, you as an AI native company are building something truly differentiating. And it's been our experience that even if you don't come from insurance, even if you're not insurance nerds like you and I are, and
Yeah.
you believe in the power and the need for insurance to be that safety net in the economy, you come across a company like ours and you say, these guys have a mission that is sustainable, that has a significant moat they've already built in a very short time,
Hmm.
that's fun. Like we're solving really interesting, cool problems that has huge financial impact, huge upside. And then the other reason that engineers join us, and anyone joins us, marketing people, salespeople, is they look at our company and they see the ceiling for me here is infinite. This a company that is so focused and that has built up such a big data moat around their product, they're going to do well. Like we just got to keep getting it out into the market, getting it into more global carriers, and getting it into more hands. I'll also say, as my co-founders and I, we have a line that we use from time to time. There's lots of ways to massive startup growth. There's lots of ways. Like one way, you could be asshole founders. That's one way. You could just be like maniacal, crazy, what's. You can get there, and that's one approach. And the other way is you could be slow and steady and methodical. And neither of those ways are our ways. Our way is you are fierce in your approach. You are like surgical in the way that you work, but you're also kind. You could be kind and killer at the same time. And that's our approach. People get excited about it. And we're assembling teams of people that want to attack the market that way.
Mm-hmm. I'm lucky enough to know a lot of your team, and I would wholeheartedly agree with that. It's one of the nicest teams I know, but there is a real backbone there. Like there's a few people in your team that I know very well that are tigers that keep their teeth hidden, and
Yeah.
and I've been lucky enough not to cross them yet, but I wouldn't want to.
Well, we
And I think
appreciate, and you've placed a lot of people on our team as well, which we are super fortunate for. So you're keep finding us, keep farming those unicorns, and keep sending them along,
I
Alex.
was thinking that while we were talking. I was going, I've got to find some more unicorns for you. Yeah.
Yeah,
But no, it's really interesting, and I've what I do think is good about insurance is that it does weed out the maniacal like asshole founders. You don't see many of them. I've met plenty. Their businesses don't tend to flourish. I think insurance is just too much of a neat. It's too much of a neat and neat business. It's still a very face-to-face market, and I think the
yeah,
problem with that, you can't hide anywhere. So if you're going to be that founder, you just get found out, and I don't think people have to put up with it in this market. So I think that's a really really positive thing market wide.
that's
Um,
right.
Alex, absolute pleasure. I can't believe this is the first time we've done this actually, which is it's funny for me. But thank you so much for being a guest on the Leadership in Insurance podcast.
Thank you. I had a great time. Good to talk, Alex.
Thanks, buddy.